Hey, what's up guys? Gons here with this week's word of encouragement. It comes from Luke 4 verses 5 through 8. Here's what it says. And the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, and said to him, To you I will give all this authority and their glory, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whom I will. If you then will worship me, it will all be yours. And Jesus answered him, It is written, You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Now there's a lot here. I've often referenced this passage to show that the kingdoms of this world, which are controlled by Satan, is the reason why many of our systems, our banking systems and institutions, our government systems and institutions, even our religious institutions at the highest levels are all satanic. And the concept of the devil wanting worship at the center of all of this is really blatant here. He wants worship, and he'll give everything he has in order to receive that worship. But Jesus answers and says, It is written, You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. And the reason why I chose this passage as a word of encouragement is because I want to encourage you to put into practice this idea of worshiping the Lord and serving him only. Now, this is kind of a state of mind in a sense, because, you might be working for a company that is tied to the New World Order or something like that. You might be working at a bank or something. We often have jobs and stuff that are tied to this world, which if you do enough tracing, if you do enough research, will probably lead back to some sort of New World Order satanic system, okay? So what it really comes down to is mindset. Are we doing it just for money? Because if we are, then we're sort of doing things in the wrong mindset. That whole concept of you can't serve two masters. Well, money itself isn't what's evil. It's the love of money and the desire to want more and more and more money so you can have more power, more control over your life. That pursuit, I think, is satanic at its core. But in your job, there are ways you can serve God. And I encourage you to find out exactly what that looks like in your life, in your situation. It may be serving people with respect, with love, with joy, with the joy of the Lord. If you're in a service industry or something, do so knowing that by serving people and loving on them, you're shining God's love and God's light through the way you treat others to other people, and they'll recognize that, so you're serving the Lord. While not every job necessarily can be a service to the Lord in terms of, if you're working at a store that sells satanic ritual materials and stuff like that, that's probably a situation where trying to find ways to serve the Lord is less conducive. But for most of us, I think you have jobs, you have work that is in service in some way to people, helping people out. So I challenge you and I encourage you to look for that mindset that really does give you this perspective of, hey, I'm working for the Lord. I'm not just working for the job or working for my boss or working for money. No, I'm doing this for the Lord. And find that connection point, because I think it'll change your perspective and it'll change your day-to-day experience at your occupation. So hopefully that encourages you this week as you go out. Look for that connection. Look for how you're serving the Lord in your occupation, but in also other ways. Obviously, you can serve the Lord in many other ways by serving the poor and needy. There's all sorts of ways to do it outside of your job, but in this particular video, I wanted to challenge you and encourage you in that one aspect, because I know a lot of people feel like their job is just a stepping stone or a dead end or whatever, and I know people can be really discouraged at their work. So hopefully this gets you thinking this week. So again, be encouraged. Have an awesome week. God bless.